Hello and welcome everyone to Luna View. I'm John and this is the family farm. It's where I grew up. And now we're in 1965. A year has gone by and some changes happened in, well, more than 1 year. This episode will probably be about a 3 years episode. So we'll get into this. I'm going to stop doing this for the moment. Spreading a little manure I collected. So I was adopted. So I came along a year after I was born, a little more than a year after I was born, and I came to, well, this. There was no trees in the front. The government came and they widened out the road a bit and they took out them front trees and stuff. So I came along here and this is where they put me. Out here in a carriage facing across the road to the front field, which we owned as well, and beyond that was the river. Something I didn't mention in the last episode. I also did mention that our acreage is about 160, including the front field and the woods that went beyond these fields, probably out to here somewhere. So yeah, that much. Also, in the years coming up, this side of the field, there was another property right here we rented. It was that size. And a property up the road, about up here somewhere, and it was this size. So we also farmed that as well. I also should note, they didn't leave me out there alone in the front lawn there. I had a dog at the time named Chris, and Chris never stayed out here. He always in the back porch of the house, which extended out this way a bit to the garage. And yeah, that was my dog, Chris. He stayed with me till I was 13. He passed on. He was up the road and he got hit by a car at that time. And I got his little puppy that he was up the road doing, and that puppy wasn't right. Dad done away with the dog about 6 months old. He said, that dog's not right. And he's gonna box back the field and bury him if you want. I went, okay, when you come home from school, you find that out. But anyway, yeah, that dog wasn't right. I had to admit that. And we had a dog after that, and he did stay in the doghouse here most of the time. But he just simply ran off. We never seen him again. He was only about a little over a year old, and he just ran away. Because that time we never tied our dogs or anything like that. They were, supposed to bring in the cows. Chris did. He was a Scottish collie, and he brought in the cows. Just said, go get him, Chris. And he went back to the very back of the field and brought them right out to the barn. Not a problem. Great dog. In the early days of milking, Mom and Dad, they had cans of milk, and with only 12 animals starting out to milk, it was manageable, and they brought in the cans every day via that truck. In the next year, when I came along, a bulk tank was put in place, and they had a vacuum line and a little tank they dumped the milk into, and it went into the bulk tank. And then the milk truck, it would come along here and pick up the milk. So got a little video of that coming up of the ins and outs going on, what was going on in 65, 66, and 67. Now, I got a lot of feed in the first year, so we done all the work with the grass fields, with the little tractors, and got tons of feed and so on, but I didn't have lots of straw. So I still had that backfield, which was wheat, and I had to harvest it. And back in the day, that's what Dad did too. He had to harvest that and to get straw for his bedding. Thing is, his combine burnt. And about midway through the process of harvesting, and so that combine was pulled off to the side and in the field, and I believe it's still there today because the bushes are still in that area when I look back the field. Yeah, that's where it kept. So a neighbor Cecil Curtis came along with his combine and finished it up. But after that, Dad went down the road to the local sawmill. Harry Ford is his name, and he had sawdust. So we bet it was sawdust right to the end of our, you know, as long as we were here at the farm till '82. We used sawdust as bedding. And a lot of the farm was built by the lumber Dad took to Harry Ford and sawed up, and he built on. So at this time, the section over this way was completed, and the other section over that way was completed, and he had room enough now to hold 50 milking cows plus. And you know, this barn, as I said before, is much taller and wider in real life. It was when it was tore down in the early 90s. But essentially, this whole thing would have been stanchions and an internal grain silo for all our animals, actually, except for the dry and older young heifers. They would have been out here in the section of barn and cold freestall, which turned into the milking parlor in the summertime. But the rest of the barn was all filled with hay, and we had an additional hay barn onto the back side. Yeah, I think I covered all the points that we're going for here. In this episode, there's a lot of field work going on to get that wheat field planted and ready for harvest again. And then the event of the combine burning in the field and carrying on after that. So this is where we are. It'll bring us to the end of the 60s, basically. And in our next episode, you can look forward to the prosperous years and see what equipment Dad bought and stuff. So let's get in to that field work and the burning combine. As you can see, the grass grew very, very well. I have a nice crop of hay coming up. And our old combine. Well, not exactly our old combine, because it was a pull behind international, but you get the idea. That's essentially what this looks like today, including that tree back there. So I want to thank you all for joining me today on this episode, and from here on in, it was mostly grass. We want to do some corn because he done fall silage, and if there's a mod that I could do that with, I'd be happily doing it. So we'll see about that in the upcoming episode. But any questions you have, any comments you like to say, feel free to leave them there. I'll do my best to answer and say hi to y'all. Appreciate y'all joining. Take care.